To do a quick little field trip before we head to the meetup. We bought this property, it was a foreclosure, just to give a little background before we go tour it. She had a lot of emotion and pain with this place. She was about to lose it in 7-ish days when we first put it under contract. And we were able to get the auction postponed, which was pretty cool, which we were talking about out there, but just for everybody else, how long did you have to spend on the phone to do that?
Oh, I was on hold for like 6 hours.
Okay. So it's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's the steps are simple. It's getting the information that's difficult because you have to call into the trustee. You have to find out where they want you to send the request for the postponement. You have to find out if there's anything in particular about that property. You have to make sure that it's a type of foreclosure that can be postponed because some can't. We send the requests either way, but yeah, getting all that information, and the hardest part is getting somebody on the phone that's a real human that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah. So this was an inbound lead, so she filled out a web form, it came in. We actually met with her virtually. She was already living in California, and really a ton of trauma that happened with her specifically in a couple of her marriages. A lot of emotion tied up into this property. She had lived here about 15 years before moving. So yeah, she had stopped making payments, and then there was how many liens against the property that we found out later?
Like
10 liens, totaling how much?
It was just over 650,000 in liens.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Yeah. So that's the thing people don't realize is once you get behind on payments, then it's not just that principal and interest. It's a lot of those legal fees and stuff that they tack on, right?
Yeah, and it's harder to get the payments once you're behind too, because then you have to go through all of the parties and collect the attorney fees and the payoff amounts.
Right. Yeah, so whenever we're dealing with somebody in this kind of situation, this is a quick tip. If they don't really know how much is owed against the property and the emotions and the stress are just way too much, we do a net proceeds in our purchase agreement. So instead of trying to guess on a purchase price where they find out, okay, I'm gonna walk away with this much, we just say net to seller, you get this at closing. Of course, the deal has to make sense. There has to be enough equity for the numbers to work, but that way they can know, okay, I'm gonna walk with this much money. Yeah. Yep. And the title can do all the work in the background and pull up this much is owed or whatever, and then calculate all that out. So we don't really know what our purchase price is going to be in that situation until later.
Yeah, a quick thing though, we do add in there that it's the amount to them is due to them less anything that wasn't disclosed to us. That way we have a little bit of protection there. So if they're like, yeah, I have 2 mortgages and a judgment, and then you get it back and it's 2 mortgages and 5 judgments, you're only on the hook for one of those, and then it's at your discretion if you cover the rest or if they have to cover it.
Cool. As far as the property itself goes, once we finally got it closed, you know, you could do whatever you wanted in this thing. It's very difficult to come up with the correct amount of budget and not over remodel because we're not the ones moving in. So it's hard to make those choices, right? Some of this property is a little bit dated, but at the same time, the location's phenomenal, so we didn't want to go super overboard. I think our budget was roughly like 65-ish on this. So we did paint, it was dark before. The whole master bath is being redone, we'll go check that out. That we're gonna totally deck out because that was gutted at the time when we bought it anyways. But the kitchen we're not doing a whole lot with. There was a lot of junk removal, some landscaping we did. Yeah, in this market, a lot of this is about speed in this price point. So with high interest rates, there's a lot less buyers to buy things. So if you're gonna be in these higher price points, which is pretty rare for us to be in this price point, it's about getting in and out. Go.
Do you just generate your rental budget by working backwards with your numbers?
Yeah. This property was a little bit easier, right? So the master bath was completely gutted already. So like, okay, we have to do that. And since this is a nice home, nice area, we might as well like put most of our budget into that. We knew we were gonna do paint because it was super dark. But everything else beyond that is just optional. So like we did some of the fans, some of the lights, just to give it some of the details, like that cool chandelier thing at the entryway we put in. Everything beyond that was, we shouldn't do it unless we think it really needs to.
You've got to make a judgment around what's a requirement and what's optional.
Yeah.
How do you, because, kitchen is one of the areas they say.
Yeah.
Is, right? Kitchen and master bath
Mhm.
and bedroom, but bedroom's kind of an empty box. So for this home, given it's a nice area and it's a high price point, and I know where you're trying to list it, and I did see the comps, this kitchen is, I can't remember exactly, is it in line with the comps that?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do, right? If you're going for,
That's the other question.
yeah,
What are you trying to do?
if you're going for top ARV, then yeah, you want to redo everything.
Yeah.
But if you're really looking to maximize profit, everybody's going to have their own thing in the kitchen of how they want it to be.
Right.
So for us to guess on that is actually a mistake, because we could be in that thing $100,000, and then somebody could come in and be like, I don't really like these cabinets. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we want to make it as nice as possible, but we also, it has to make sense numbers-wise. So if we put $100,000 in there, I don't think we would get a huge return off of that.
Right.
Because price point-wise, like the further up you go, the less buyers there are, the longer it would sit on the market, and so then that becomes a risk, especially seasonally. We're like at peak right now. If like another couple weeks, another couple months, things really start to dive off. So,
What about the financing?
yeah.
What did you do to purchase the home?
Yeah, so we used Kiavi for this one. They just started lending in Idaho. So we're in a big,
Spell that, I'm sorry.
yeah, it's Kiavi.
Thank you.
Yep,
They're considered hard money?
yes, yep.
And were you able to get it quickly? Like how fast did they turn it around? So you postponed the auction?
Yes.
And then when did you take it from close for the seller?
I think it was, once title was clear, it was like 3 days, 3 to 4 days.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's calendar days, because we had a weekend in there.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
They
pretty
were-
quick, yeah. We do a lot of business with them too, so obviously volume helps, right? But yeah, they're quick.
Yeah, I think the first one we did with them took like a week.
Yeah.
Because they were like, do you have this document? And we're like, oh, shoot, yes. And they're like, what about this one? And we're like, oh, yes, that one too. So just kind of getting a feel for each other, it took a little bit more time, but now that we've got it dialed in, it's super quick.